Hello! Recently we took on a new challenge in Plants vs. Zombies. This time we were going to do 2 seed slots only. Last time we did mushrooms only, and mushrooms only actually worked. It was rather difficult, but we managed to get through it. And we also did a sunless run, so no sun producers. That one was also pretty manageable. This one I figured would be even potentially more manageable than that. Okay, they can't throw any more balloon boys at me. I got lucky with all of my things. That's like perfect RNG. Nope, they threw another one at us. I can't pop his balloon, no matter how much I click on it. It turns out it wasn't. This one was way more difficult. So the only rule that we had for this challenge is that I was only allowed to use 2 plants. That was it. We didn't have any other plants, and it was just the first 2 we had to pick. I didn't have any sort of mods enabled, so I couldn't just lock myself into just having 2. I had to pick all of them, but I only ever used 2 with a few exceptions. I did cheat on this one as well, similar to the mushroom one, although this one I think cheating was a bit necessary. You could say it was completely unnecessary if you were willing to go through things like save states and just try to get the best amount of RNG that you could, which I know other people trying this challenge have done. I did not do that though. I just tried to play it normally. And then if I got stuck on a level, I would try it 4 to 5 times, maybe up to 6 times, different strategies, see what would work. So we started out in the day maps like we always do with Plants vs. Zombies. And in the first stage, our go-to plants were pretty simple. We went with the first 2 that we get. So we got the sunflower and we got the pea shooter. These proved to be pretty useful throughout the majority of the daytime. I think I did switch the pea shooter out for snow peas at one point, just to see how that would work, and it worked out just fine. I think I also tried to go with the sunflower and the cherry bombs at one point, which I don't think worked out, or maybe it did work out because it was very early on, and turns out we could just kind of get away with that. Quickly found out that wasn't going to work as a strategy, though, because the cherry bombs just had way too long of a cooldown on them. So stage 1 through 10, super simple. We got through it, no problems. So for the night maps, this one was pretty straightforward. We'd already done the sunless run, so we kind of knew how this one would play out. Just spam puff shrooms. Puff shrooms are one of the best units in the game. They cost 0. They do decent damage. They have a super fast recharge rate on them, so just spam them absolutely everywhere. And then I think our sun plants that we took were like potato mines. I think that's all we took. We just planted 2 at the back, just in random lanes. They usually didn't get any value. I don't think they actually did get any value whatsoever because we never got like a football zombie that just ran through and ate everything. And we got through all the night maps, again, with no challenge whatsoever. We completed that, no problem. Once we got to the 3rd level, though, or the 3rd area, that's when I figured this would become difficult because now we were in the pool levels. And we actually got through the first couple levels without too much trouble because we just took pea shooters and we took the lily pads. I was counting the lily pad as a plant. Plenty of people in my chat told me not to count the lily pad as a plant. Same with the potted plants. Don't count them because they're just not really a plant. They don't do anything besides allow you to attack on the water or attack on the roof, which, yeah, I kind of understand why, but still I wanted to try this. And we did get through the first couple, but it was basically doing the sunless run. We just put down lily pads. We put down pea shooters. Pea shooters cleared up, no problem, until we got to the 3rd stage in the 3rd area. This is when things got basically impossible for me. They weren't totally impossible. Like I said, some people have abused save states in the past and just abused the RNG, and if you manage to get incredibly lucky RNG, you can beat this. But I never was able to. I could get very close to winning, and the closest I got was just a few zombies, I think 1 or 2 getting through at the very end because we were still stuck with mowers in the pool. If we had pool cleaners, we would have gotten it like multiple times. The ice peas were my go-to on this one, and lily pads, and then it was basically a sunless run, a very painful sunless run because you have to wait for 175 sun for each of them. That takes so long, and you have to give up so much early on to do that. So the 3-peater was our next kind of ace in the hole. That's what we needed to use because it could cover both the pool lanes, both towards the middle, and firing down all 3 lanes. We would usually only get a total of 3 to 4 if we were lucky, depending on how long the map went, because again, sunless run, we were using them and we were using tango kelp. We were trying to do this, and we did manage to get through a few stages just using this. However, we did hit a certain point where we just could not continue. And again, this was just another map that was very, very heavily RNG dependent, just on what you get, how many of the snorkelers you get, how quickly you can spam things to take care of them, and what kind of damage you can really do. The other real big issue with this is bucket heads became a super big issue if they came down the lane with the 3-peater, because a single 3-peater could not kill them. Even 2 really struggled to kill him. It would kill a buckethead, but it would always kill one of the 3-peaters in turn, so we would always be losing out on one, and we still needed something like the lily pads or the tango kelp to actually kill the snorkelers. Anything else just wasn't going to work. So this is when I finally gave in and we used the lily pads, and I believe we used the sunflowers and then just snow peas, or maybe we used regular pea shooters. I don't really recall. Once we did that, it became far easier, and then I went back to using just 2 plants as much as possible. There were a few other stages where we got stuck on, specifically at the night stage, or the second night stage, so we were in the fog stages, and these stages we'd already done on the sunless run, so I knew that they were possible, but they were heavily RNG reliant. We went with the puff shrooms, and we went with the sea shrooms, and they cleared up almost every board, no problem. There was only 2 boards in particular, and that was when they spammed balloon boys at us. That was the only time that we were going to lose, and we lost every single time that we tried this. I believe I tried both of them something like 5 times. Maybe I just skipped over the one because I knew how difficult it would be. And in that case, I went with sunflowers, cactus, and lily pads as our only options. And I believe that that was what I also used in the other stage too. So those were the other 2 night maps that I cheated on because it was just so annoying. We'd already done this before. It's just you keep reloading the game, you keep spamming puff shrooms, you keep spamming sea shrooms, until they decide to not throw more than 6 balloon boys at you, or until they decide to not just throw 2 balloon boys down the same lane, one right after another. That's all it was, so I wasn't really interested in sticking around and watching that until we got it done. And then we finally got to stage 5, and this is where we hit our kind of last hurdle, because once again, the potted plants are super useful, and we only have so many potted plants. We can either pick them, or we could pick sun producers like sunflowers, and then something like cabbage pults, or the kernel pults. Those were our only options, really. We couldn't really use melon pults. That would just take way too long, and we'd lose a lane of pots. If you lose a lane of pots, that's pretty much it for you, because you can't put down any more, assuming you're taking something. So I tried this a couple of times with the sunless run, just going with things like a potted plant and then corn, and just stacking as much corn as I could, but it never really worked out. Even on the regular stages, there really wasn't a time for this to kind of work out at all. It also became somewhat apparent that it was going to be very inconsistent to kill the really big guys with the imps. There really wasn't a way to do this unless we got insane RNG on our corn and they just kept throwing butter and kept stunning him, which did actually happen, I believe, twice throughout this run, which was really surprising. That I think we survived 2 things that we really shouldn't have, and we should have been forced to use the roof cleaner at some point. That was the first thing that I bought on this stage, and I also tried to buy the rake as much as possible for this challenge. That way we could at least deal with one thing. But none of that really mattered, and I believe that there was 2 stages on the roof where I did have to cheat, and I had to put potted plants in a row because they had gotten eaten, and then we just spammed out more cabbage or more corn, one of the 2. That was about it. So the rest of the time we were using sunflowers and either cabbage or corn. It becomes really difficult to just use 2 plants in this, and I think that this challenge is probably the most difficult that we've semi-completed. I believe in total I cheated something like 6 to 7 times throughout the entirety of the map. 2 to 3 times on stage 3, twice on stage 4, and then twice on the 5th stage. After that, once we got to the boss though, we just fought it normally and no problem there. I have started another challenge as well with this, which will probably be made into a future video, and that's going with like the one-hit plants, explosive plants. And that one's been a really fun challenge too. That one has been significantly easier than these other challenges. So thanks everybody for watching this, and special thanks to the supporters of this channel. If you'd like to see more of my Plants vs. Zombies content, be sure to click over here on this video. It'll take you to a full playlist of them. Thanks, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye!